Okay, it seems like it's working. Okay, cool. Okay, we're live, and hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming, family. And yeah, I have a special guest on today. His name is Rocko Fowler. Was an elite programmer at Montauk. After climbing the ranks within the organization, he was tasked with to help new recruits develop their skills, fight within the ranks. Through any means necessary, he would break the trainees to build them up into seasoned soldiers. Using his psionic abilities, he was able to pull altars to help assist in bringing out the required attributes that were required for military service. Can you tell the audience a little bit also more in depth about yourself for those that don't understand this world?
Of course. My name is Rocko Fowler. My birth date is May 13th, 1987. I was born in Largo, Florida. My mother could not have children, so they used her egg with another woman. And my father was involved. And we were there for, I'd say, till about maybe 1, 2. And we ended up moving to the eastern end of Long Island, where all that stuff started to occur at a very young age. 3 years old, I had my first ET contact. My mother is a witness. My father was a witness, RIP. But they were 4 grays, and they were standing over my bed, and they weren't like the typical gray. They were like a gray that like lit up kind of like a greenish light bulb. Weird, very weird memory. But when I was told that, it was later on. Like part of my childhood, like I have a complete wipe. I do know that when I was 3 years old, I was also attending preschool on an air base in West Hampton Beach, Long Island, New York, where that's where some of this programming and whatnot started, as far as like, you know, tests. They'd bring me out of class. And take me to where the med unit is. And this place is still widely active. And yes, for those out there that are listening to this, they probably don't want me speaking about this. So what? Sorry. I'm tired of what people are doing to children. And I'm going to tell the truth. It's horrifying. The truth's horrifying. You know? Like I'll say it right now. I love Drago's presentation. I loved it, because that's the type of presentations that need to be said. We don't need to beat around the bush and say, oh, yeah, this is all happy-go-lucky, because it's not. Especially when you find out later on that you were not just a victim, but you were, it's also, I say it like this. I look at it like this. We all play a villain, and we also play a hero as well. So in some of these lives, we might have been a villain. In some of these lives, we might have been a hero. But we were all under control. This was all under control. So, you know, that went on for a while. AT abductions, you know, I'd say through my teenage years. And then I drew a complete blank. Like I drew a complete blank to all of this. And then in 2014, when I woke up, was the horror show. And it's taken me up to about, I'd say, maybe five months or so ago, I decided that it was time to accept the fact that I was a part of these things, because it kept coming up, and it kept coming up. And it kept coming up. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to get into it, you know. And I went into it head first. And one thing I will say is, yes, face your fears. Because every time you speak, the stronger you get. The stronger you get. You're not scared anymore to tell the story of the harm that you might have done, or harm that was done to you that you don't want to remember, like dog cages and, you know, some of these kids that I was, you know, throwing them into, you know, during being a programmer at Montauk. Now, I don't know exactly what timeline this is. I just know that I was 16 years old. I was not housed at Montauk. I was housed at another base. I was brought in to specifically pull an altar and reprogram altars with, you know, different abilities, psionic abilities, psychic abilities, telekinesis, pyrokinesis, reprogram them with sentences, sometimes songs, all different kinds of things, and then place the altar back into the body and send them on their way. And next. But the problem is I had one guy that I am currently speaking with that remembers me literally punching him in the left side of the face with my right hand. And yes, I swing with the right. So, like, that's pretty interesting. How did he know it was a right? I mean, I was ruthless. I was one of the ruthless ones. It was me, Arkeem, JP. There were several of us there, and some of us were. Most of us were. I remember me and Ark. You know, we basically did the programming at this point, and you know, put a lot of damage on people. If you did not listen to me when you were in my chair, I simply would grab you, pick you up, and throw you into a portal. And sometimes I'd say, just like Ark, which is weird, you know, I'd like to throw you somewhere where it's nice and cold, or maybe somewhere where you can't make it back.
Interesting. Okay. So what's it like to be a programmer in, like, what tasks? You said programming words and codes to initiate, which would be probably geared around an altar, right?
Yeah. And
How do they?
also while I was there, there were two people that I actually really connected with recently. One being Christy Campbell, who had heard me on the Typical Skeptic podcast and said that my voice had activated memories of me from Montauk. And from there, it carried on into like some kind of Reiki session type thing where I laid on the floor and I was visualizing everything that she was saying. I could see it. I mean, some of the stuff was hard to, you know, work through. And I still have to work through it, and I still have to forgive myself. And, you know, but I mean, these what they would do is you know, I remember having to you know, pull kids out and watch them fight and make them fight each other till they were bloody. Throw them in cages, electrocution. I remember putting cages in like a, you know, together almost, and then strapping like this electrical stuff around it and then electrifying the whole cage. And there was a button, or the cage is, and there was a button, and we could press the button whenever we wanted, and it would shock everybody in the cages. And we would just laugh. And I thought it was the funniest thing ever. And it got to a point where, you know, I started to develop a relationship with an altar, Raylan. and I would go to her cell first, and I would sing her songs. You know, I would talk to her. I would calm her down. And then it was like when this altar was still attached to Christy, because finally, you know, it came to me and I feel less pain now, oddly enough, because we had a bond. Me and Ray Lynn had a serious bond, where I would always bring her a new teddy bear. But how I would do this program wise is I would take a keychain with a recording device on it, and I would record myself, maybe singing a song, saying a sentence, and that would keep her calm when I wasn't around. But yeah, I hit it inside the eyeball of the tiger, of the teddy bear, pardon. And, she knew exactly where to go and find it, and she would find it. But when I would leave, she would be asking everybody else, where did I go? Where did he go? And they would basically tell Raylan to shut up. So it's been getting warm right now. That means I feel her presence around me right now. I get very warm when her presence is around me. My heart, especially. Because today I try to stay heart-centered. I really try to stay heart-centered as much as possible. And, because, I'm no perfect angel at all. But yeah, a lot of this stuff was just horrifying, horrible, rape. I remember Preston would video this stuff. I was pretty much forced to do the same thing. I was never forced to rape men or boys, but it was always girls. So, yeah.
What do you think the point of going?
Waterboarding. Now, when I had a hypnosis session where the lady stopped me dead in my tracks, it was me and 10 other kids, including, it was 10 kids, but, my one friend was being waterboarded, and I could remember seeing his face when they kept pulling him up, and I saw the desperation on his face. And I was talking about this, and I was headed towards some room, and there was a trip chair in there, and she stopped me. Boom, right there. Stop me. You need to go to the positive. And I'm like, I literally snapped out of it and started talking about how, kids are made to, we're made to, they would use disposables in the food that they would give the kids and myself when I was there as a victim. It's hard to keep track of these timelines because all of this stuff is just happening so fast. Memories coming back, reliving those memories, feeling the pain of those memories. I really, it's there's some blank there, but that could be because right now I'm being attacked by an energy, and it better back off, or I'm going to have to do whatever I have to do. And I don't think they want me to look in their eyes, but I will. I don't fear. It's one thing. I know now that death it happens, and the next thing you know, you reincarnate. So it's temporary. It's not long.
You talked about the trip chair. What do you remember about its purposes and what it does?
To send the consciousness out of the body to other realms, other dimensions, time travel. I mean, there's all different kinds of things that would go on, like manifestation. Forcing somebody to manifest something while they're in the chair. Like I would sit on one side, another asset would sit on the other side, and we would telepathically scream in somebody's head till they manifested whatever we wanted them to manifest. It's one thing I can remember. And I just remember like my consciousness getting taken out of my body and placed in a clone body. And, but it happened so fast. It was like when I was under hypnosis, it was like just remembering it was flashing lights, like flashing and flashing and flashing. Like I'm going through time. And next thing you know, boom, I'd be wherever it is that they'd want me or place me, or just wild stuff.
If there's multiple iterations of the trip chair into like multiple purposes based on what it triggers in an individual, if the time travel ability is mostly in the individual or if it's in the external components of the tech, and then is it consciousness time travel or physical or both?
I remember consciousness because the kid, if they didn't make it back, I remember them turning a certain, death, like color, like they're dead, they're gone. They're no longer, the body's no longer functioning. So we could keep them alive in the chair. Like their body, their vessel. But when their consciousness leaves, sometimes it gets lost. And there's thousands of kids right now lost in between space and time right now. That's why we go on these astral missions. That's why, a lot of times, like I might
messing. Hey, you're frozen. Are you there? Great. 1 second. Technical difficulties. See if we can fix this. Well, while he's frozen, we'll see if we can get that back on. Yeah, so we're going into, there we go. Hey, you there? Okay, well, let me know. We're frozen. Okay, so anyway, so hey, everybody. Yeah, this is going to be a triggery show. Apologies. But yeah, this stuff needs to be talked about. So deeper layers of this in tracking back stuff in wounds in people. If you're born with overpowered superhuman abilities or rare energy, rare DNA, there are factions in the future. Hey, you there?
Yeah.
Oh,
what
got,
the
hell? Okay, you're talking about the chair and then going into the time, the lost souls in space, and then you cut out. So go ahead and continue. Thank you.
I drew a blank. Whoa.
The lost souls and then the astral missions, and then you froze.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Don't worry about it.
that sucks. Yeah, going on astral missions, rescuing these kids. I do believe that I am some type of interdimensional being where I'm really not from this planet. And I know that there are other planets beyond this universe. And there are numbers, it seems. What I'm seeing right now is like 555, 777. There's like different planets, like beyond this universe. But I will tell you, while being under hypnosis, I had remembered dying in the Montauk chair. They had brought me back through. But when they brought me back through, before I came here into this vessel, I had to sign a contract. And that contract was to go through every single thing that I'm going through now, was to go through pain, suffering, and if I die, oh well. I chose this life.
So you're saying there are souls that they had in this chair go out through time and space and the astral and other possible places, and some of them went lost. Is this like a consciousness transfer? And then where is the main destination for these souls? Are they supposed to remain in a spirit form, or do they get transferred to different bodies like clones or other timelines? How does it, what do you know?
I couldn't tell you. All I know is I remember rescue missions like what we do now in the here and now. It's going into the astral and going on astral missions to save children from being eaten by dark reptilians. Horrible. And, you know, cleaning out bases and I would use one of my best, which is pyrokinesis, which I did, like Ark said, I didn't need a firearm. I could just use my eyes and burn down colonies of these dark beings. Like, so I kind of look at that like something to do, maybe fire starter, or, you know, I don't know. I question that.
Interesting. For me, in what I've experienced in program interaction with pyrokinesis, they did a thing where, I don't mean to trigger people, but probably going to happen. They put me in a freezer naked for 20 minutes over and over again until I developed an inner fire thing after 3 weeks of doing it over and over again. And then they took me to another base to develop it in more interaction with fire kind of tests that it didn't really matter if you get burned because of what they'll just put you through. But yeah. And then they'll, you know, there's like a level up stage. So what do you what do you remember about the training for that?
I don't have full
There's
recall.
different types of trauma stress initiation type of abuse that they'll bring people through to spur specific abilities.
I don't recall at this moment.
Okay. So what do you have any idea with the purposes of the different types of abuse that went on in what was observed? I'll
straight up tell it. You know, I don't pull the hold no punches. They're all fucking pedophiles. That's why. They're all fucking pedophiles. They're all sick, deluded fucking people, including some of the people that have written the books, like Scientologists. I will never pick that book up a day in my life. Ever, 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 ever. It was whitewashed. Preston Nichols lied. He raped kids. In the towns, he raped kids. Central Islip. I remember his dad's basement. I remember a group of us kids being fucking made to masturbate in front of some fat fucking disgusting pig. motherfucker, scumbag, fucking pedophile, fuck. Just like Al Bielek, just like the rest of them, all into children. Why? Why are kids still going missing in Montauk? People don't see this stuff. They just, oh, well, you know, I'm going to watch the news and I'm going to go to the water and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. No, open your fucking eyes, and stuff is going on below our feet. And Congress ain't going to do shit about it. We got to stand up and do something about it. Or nothing's going to happen. It's just going to keep repeating the same cycle over and over and over again.
So besides their own predilections, what do you think the purpose of doing these projects are for? What do they send them
for the benefit of humanity, is what they said.
For the benefit of humanity. Interesting. Yeah. What have you observed with that? Because I know a lot of government systems and projects like to flower things up with purpose and cause like that.
Well, I do remember, you know, there'd be kids that would actually go out on recruit missions on their bicycles in the town of Montauk. And they would, you know, be like, you know, come with me, you know, or let's go for a bike ride and come here. And they'd bring them to Montauk or bring them to the base and bring them down, and, you know, and next thing you know, that kid would disappear. So they would recruit. They would recruit like that. They'd send kids out too to do it. They didn't care. That's where I think the teen/teacher thing comes in to play as well. And I could have very well been one of those guys. You know, I don't know. I'm not there yet, but I look at it as I'm learning something new every day. Like, I didn't know about the freezer stuff, but that makes, you know, sense. Definitely does. Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, they'll initiate it depending on the ability. So at least with what I've read is they'll scan a person based on what their DNA is and what rare energy emissions they have, see for a potential. Some will have greater technology like remote viewing tech or looking glass technology involved in seeing their future to see something that spurs, and then that will all be into their file of targeting. And then, but every time they put you through it, they seem to know something. At least besides the unnecessary bullshit like for the YouTube audience, grape. So I've seen like electrifying the floor to make a person through stressful situations figure out a way to solve a puzzle. I've seen them make you jump off incrementally by different weeks, increasing height, step
sort of
while on camera, slow down your speed in descent, and you know, if you break your legs after a while, then
that sounds
they heal you, and then they put you back through it. Levitation. And yeah, there's quite a number of other projects that I'm tuning through on what they do, mostly because there's a way to heal it, there's a way to resolve it. The higher self allows it for some reason because of the ability and then what you get done to make the planet better, but a lot of the abuse doesn't need to happen and needs a bunch of force to be put towards resolving the situation of the abusers, which I think can happen with enough psionic people. Then so but there are some overpowered abilities that can be spurred through this. Whether people like it or not, it gets results. I want to study this as an example so I can figure out how to do it in a humane, positive way. And then there's schools that make out of it for amplifying psionic abilities, because I don't think the abuse is exactly necessary at all. It's just what the military likes to do about that. And individuals in projects. So yeah, and what do you remember in interaction with pyrokinesis? And was this an astral ability, or like some people? It's not like the place you're going has a label on it. So it's like, are we experiencing the fourth dimension? Are we experiencing the astral?
Psionic. It's more like psionically.
Yeah, are you exhibiting it
like
physically
before?
in those projects?
Well, before I said, I let them know. I said, you're invading my space. This is a guy I'm working with. You're invading my space. I'm going to give you the count to 10. And when I get to 10, if you're not out of here and you're not off of my energy, getting off of my back, I don't feel them anymore, because what I did is I envisioned it. My eyeballs reaching his eyeballs and looking into his eyes and looking into his soul and frying. You understand? Literally just like envisioning, and manifesting flames going through his eyes. And what it did is it blinded him. It shut him down, because he needs to shut down. He needs to go to sleep. He's been up for days, and I care. You know what I mean? I care, because I know part of this is healing right here. I know part of this stuff because when JP used to tell me some of the stuff, I turned on him when he told me some of the stuff that was done to me or he would do to me. And, so I understand and I have compassion, but I'm not gonna, like everybody else did with me, why should I sit there and take pain, from somebody else, which I'm already taking it because I bear the burden of beating the hell out of this guy in an existence that I had no idea I had no idea that I did this stuff. I had no idea up until I met Christy Campbell, and that's when the doors swung open wide. And I mean, she wrote like 20 pages of experience remembering me. I have all 20 pages. I'm going to break them down and put them in like a PowerPoint is how I'm going to do it. So.
Thank you. And so in interaction with other timelines you mentioned, how do you think that works in what you've experienced in interaction? Because it can get confusing.
It's very confusing because, okay, Dana Louise, I met her through another show. And a couple days after that, I was like locked in some Montauk, it seemed, right? She picked up on. She said when my energy came in to her room, it was like a book. It was just tattering, opening and page. And she had to pinpoint where to go. And she pulled me out of a timeline, but I was looking, and I've always been talking about keys. So unlocking me from these past timelines, and that brought me back to 2024, because I honestly at one point didn't know what timeline I was on. Like, I didn't know I was in 2024 or 2020. 2023 or 2022 when all this stuff started happening, you know, because when you go back to a place and you're researching this place and there are wide fucking open portals everywhere you go on the property, and the energy and the weapons, you know, the electromagnetic weapons that they use, everything that they use, because it seems when you go there to research, people watch. People watch. Why are they watching you?
What do you remember about the facility? Is it like, because I've been there.
I have several.
It seems there's a lot of it underground, and there's
Yeah.
large layers.
11 sublevels. Okay. I remember going down to, and then at the 11th sublevel was the supercomputer at that time that actually held all of our information, is what I remember from this timeline. I think this was during the Time Soldier timeline, where me, Ark, JP, Kimberly Murphy, I want to say Susan Long. There were several people that were there. Susan Long remembered walking me through a cave, and I had a right bionic eye. She remembered. So being mixed up in all those timelines was like when I came back and I found the real me and I started to ground myself, that's when these abilities just started happening. So I get on the phone with somebody last night and, you know, they asked me, can you remote view? Now, I have never said yes, no, maybe, whatever. But I ended up remote viewing her to a T. She said that out of me and Susan Long, her name is Scarlett, wonderful, wonderful person. She said that out of me and Susan, we were the only two that ever read her the way we did. I picked up on abuse. I picked up on all different kinds of things. I saw her pacing. I saw that she wore a certain type of sneaker, and she couldn't believe I even knew that. Like I was like remote viewing it all, and she was pacing back and forth, pacing back and forth, pacing back and forth, pacing back and forth. So now I have somebody blowing my phone up. I'm in the process of trying to help her with a third eye. She had somehow it got blocked again, and I was tugging at it. And she literally said she could feel me tugging at it because I was trying to remove it so I could bust it, you know, open again. Now I had another person who was messaging me, calling me, the same guy who sent this energy that I had to look in the eyeballs. And unfortunately, I had to give him, you know, back off type thing. Back off. I kept telling him, get off my back. You know what I mean? Like people used to tell me. And that's why I would feel the pain I felt, because I wouldn't stop. So people would be like, okay, you don't want to stop? Well, then I'm going to just, you know what I mean? Like give them a nudge, kind of. It's kind of a nudge in a way. But I think that there's some kind of attachment going on here as well. I also know that there's handlers. But with him, he invites these handlers in to my YouTube channel. One of them, you know, being his brother. And next thing you know, I mean, it's like a psychosis going on. Like, it's crazy. It's just, I'm not going to go into details because that's just not, you know, professional, and it's not, you know, there's no need in that. All I can say is she told me, she said, my head's hurting. I said, just continue to breathe. breathe, close your eyes, think of, something, I was trying to help her the best I could while I was combating with this energy that was coming at me, and my heart was racing. And he's telling me in messages that my whole house is surrounded in black goo. And I'm like, whoa, And he's like, there's these open portals in your house. And I'm like, whoa, and I mean, I was abducted the other night. I was taken. I woke up and my bottom was bleeding. Not afraid to admit it. Now, somebody said that they think that I might have been probed. I don't know. I don't know. But I've gotten threats from these beings. If I speak at any conferences, that there will be people there. And my words to them is, if you're going to kill me, go right ahead. Do what you got to do, because I'm not going to shut my mouth. I'm not. I've learned once you open up, you can't keep closing and can't keep closing. You need to keep going, because the further you go, the more you achieve, and balance too. Like if I feel like I'm going to start arguing with somebody, I go, oh, put the phone down, walk away, go get fresh air. And so I'm changing things like that. Like that's what I took when I went on my, I got really badly Omega programmed last year. And that's when all that flipping out, calling people names, horrible names, threatening people. And now I understand why people were so nervous about when I threatened homes, meaning, pyrokinesis, you know what I mean? So somebody knew something and it feared them, because Ark is the one who told me I had firepower with my eyes.
Interesting. Can you talk a little bit about Omega programming and how has your healing journey been like for those that also could help them?
Well, I mean, Omega programming, it comes in all different shapes and sizes to me. It either comes in a suicidal form, homicidal form. You can go into some serious psychosis. You can start seeing things, starting arguments with people, driving people completely away from you, becoming the monster, at times making threats towards people, and then the next day thinking you could just message them and everything's okay. No. When you point a gun at somebody in a picture or you threaten to burn somebody's home down, that's just, it's not right. I understand my programming was, breaking down, and it was hard. And I ended up getting a tag along of bullies. It destroyed a possible marriage that was going to happen. It brought me to my knees, basically. Like it brought me to a point where I literally was drinking and taking pills to a point where I was blacking out and not remembering anything. And I mean, doing acts like going to, extreme. I was very manic, very, 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 very manic and angry. And, I felt like the world owed me everything, It was one of those things as well. And then I started pushing everybody away from me. So I finally decided, okay, I need to get away from the internet. I need to do something with myself. I started speaking with, a friend of mine from New York, and, we started having conversations, and, she helped me. She helped me realize that the behaviors that I was presenting was not, it wasn't beneficial for me, and it wasn't beneficial for others. So I started to, change things around. I got off of YouTube for, I'd say, close to 8 months, maybe about. I just completely disconnected myself from YouTube. I completely blocked everybody in SSP because I wanted my mind, and I needed to focus on my mental health. That is a big thing that I will say in this community. Mental health is important. It does not mean, and Johnny Enoch says it, the best antidepressant is gratitude. And he's 100% correct, because I am grateful for having a roof over my head, to where before I wouldn't be grateful about that. I am grateful to wake up in the morning. I look at myself in the mirror today and I say, I love you, Rocko. Like I said, I face my fears. If I don't know something, I'm not going to answer it just to sound cool. No, I've been through a lot of pain and suffering. I put a lot of others through pain and suffering, and I just have to live in it. But I don't have to stay stuck in it. I can use those abilities to help others. I can use those abilities to protect myself.
And for those that are going through similar stuff, what do you recommend to help them through those times?
I recommend, definitely don't lash out. Just put your phone down, get away from the internet. If you don't feel like something resonates with you, just don't say anything at all. Don't even get in the conversation, because if somebody, sees that you say something and it might sound out of, it might not sound right. It might sound crazy, because a lot of times when we're in that Omega programming, they're really pushing like suicide, like over and over and over. It was just going through my head. Constant headaches, feeling feverish, very weak, weak-minded, not spiritually strong. And it's I turned a corner, and you know what, anyone out there that's going through what I'm going or went through, and still currently at times I still feel that way. I mean, and then I catch myself, and I learned this. Ark told me this. He said, you're going to apologize for a long time. And then I sat there for a minute and I meditated on it. I said, it's actually good to apologize over and over, because it's a reminder so you don't do it again. So I thought about that, and I said, you know what? Yeah, when I see some of these people that say they remember me and what I did to them, and I mean, the one kid remembering how I would just laugh at him and taunt him and kick him, or kick his cage when he was in it, and call him maggots. I mean, horrible. But just the thought of it, I can picture it right now. Yeah.
And when one is overwhelmed with sadness, what helped pull you out?
What at this point now?
Or like whatever, so that people can see that bright light.
I would say I like to listen to music. music helps a lot. And sometimes I'll just click on a song that I never heard of, and there might be a message in that song that I need to hear. Or, sometimes I don't watch these videos of this Illuminati crap going on and child sex, ritual and sacrifice and all that shit. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But I try to stay to like older music, not the newer stuff. I can't do the newer stuff like that. It's too much negative energy. I like techno.
What bands like specifically have like helped you a lot with the sadness, and also any other like
Collective Soul
to help you up?
Collective Soul, that's another one. There's a song December that one of the kids I actually trained remembered me when I would train him, and he remembers me training him in like boxing. And it's pretty interesting how all of this is tying in together. It really is.
Have you felt anything that besides music that also helped you release the weight on your heart of overwhelm?
I don't care if they're 10-pound weights. Burn out. Lift those weights. You know what I mean? I also with the martial arts, you know what I mean? The movement, the hand movements, because honestly, the hands really help draw more attention to those that need, guidance. I feel it's like when I say, push out the dark, bring in the light. You know what I mean? I mean that. Push out the dark and bring in the light and harness it and stay heart centered is what I've learned. Stay in your heart. Sometimes, even if I don't like somebody, I always tell them, even like my bullies, like the cult that follows me, I'll always say, I still love you and I pray. That's it. Done. Because I kill people with kindness these days. I'd rather kill people with kindness than hatred. Doesn't help. I'm trying to rebuild myself. I'm trying to rebrand myself, and I'm trying to get out there and kick ass and get these kids out of these freaking dumbs and these underground operations.
Yeah, and for those out there, if you're overwhelmed with suicide programming, sadness, other ways to help, it's energy. So it's coming from somewhere. It's either being emitted in the body some way or being dumped on the person. It means it's coming from somewhere else. Some of it can be transmuted with love. Some can't be. Then you got to get it off you somehow, either by taking it somewhere where it needs to go. Some like releasal. When I was going through overwhelms of sadness, I'd sit in the shower, hot, cold, and just like burst it out like silent screaming, and until I got good at emitting it out of the body, as well as grounding tech, various ways, yoga positions, stretching of different types that for long periods of time will make energy shoot out the leg like a cannon.
Yeah.
Finding out what organs or the sacral or the soul, which holds the mind, ego, altars in the solar plexus, where the sadness is coming from. Because if it's not just like some demon dickhead from or a handler that's good at putting psionically energy of sadness at you from a distance, if it's some demon implanting a generator inside you that just makes a whole bunch of sadness, if it's an altar that's already been programmed previously, that's in the solar plexus, that's geared to go off if you go off the reservation, and if you're not controllable anymore, then they'll attempt to kill you off. So yeah, you can resolve all that, and then you can become master of sadness and immune to suicide. And then into many things. You can turn sadness into every positive emotion, as well as healing, and you can resolve it back onto the being that was created it for. Because if it's not transmutable, it has a purpose. It means bring it back to the original being that was created for. Usually, the abusers, the creators, the
return to
altar.
Return to sender.
So what would you say to people that are going through the rage end of the Omega programming? How did it think? What helped you at those times so people understand the procedure to remember for that?
Honestly, I mean, everybody's different. I mean, me, it was more like I was at a point of just like isolation, total, complete isolation. One thing I do not suggest is isolate. Try to get out and do something. Go to the park, do something. Go even for a walk around. If you're in a apartment complex, wherever you are, just go for a walk if you can. You know,
that seems to make sense with the procedure, because if you have a lot of friends, then it's hard to kill yourself. So they'd have to figure out a way to program the person to remove all those support blankets. Interesting. You were saying, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Sad.
Go out in nature. Did you listen to types of music for the rage too? I do that with working out.
A lot of Metallica. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I what else? Oh man, there's a lot. I mean, even Marilyn Manson at times. Like, you know, I got into this like mode sometimes where like, don't fuck with. I mean, it was bad at times, like in public. Like, I mean, fights almost. You know, stuff happens. And, you know, yeah, you got to be careful with the rage, because I feel like rage is one of the most dangerous parts of it. I really do, because that is a point where they will try to program you to knock somebody out or hit somebody, and then you're off to jail. They won. So it's resistance. You have to resist some of this stuff. And that's hard. That's very hard. Especially when the ego is in the way. You know, and that happens too. The ego comes out. I mean, not a fun way, but I'm glad I'm past that. I'm more happy now. You know, I live a simple life. Simple life, but this seems to be almost a full-time job in a way, but it's not for me, it's for others. I've learned to be more selfless than selfish. Selfish to a certain point, taking care of yourself first. But if something comes up where you don't need really self-care and you can offer somebody else help, that's what I do. And it's a good feeling. Heartwarming.
Right. For those going for those out there that are going through rage, anger, hate, wrath, whatever, it's a sliding scale of a type of energy. It's usually in the solar plexus, power, ego, generator. If it's natural, it's usually based on the universe granting you a bunch of power, and it's being pressurized like a steam valve from getting. It's not able to get out. And there's a reason for this. There's a lot of things that anger does, righteous anger especially. It gets shit done, and it makes revolutions. So there's a lot of systems that compress these into compartmental boxes and altars and put prisons around them that drain from them. And then there are demons that have a whole system towards this, and then they drain from the populace of righteous anger, and then they redirect it towards means that benefit them, such as causing drama or dividing people. And if it's burst as a punishment, it's made to divide people or make them not, isolate themselves. And then either it's generating righteously, it's compressed in an altar, it's compressed in the solar plexus or like a organ, and it needs you to do something that you love or enjoy, or activity that bursts it out and then releases it, combines with love, and then towards some intention that is partially indicated by what you're angry at. But usually that's the trigger. It might be even more in depth, but it will go into making hate is usually a defense mechanism against to protect something you love, yourself, or defend against things that are harmful, challenges, blocks, limits, and then empowerment to go past that. It's flowed the right way. There's a lot of things that prevent that from flowing the right way. And then also, if it's dumped on a person, then it's for what you're saying, to isolate them, overwhelm them. My anger causes people heart palpitations. I'm not allowed to be angry anymore. It hurts people, and I don't want to hurt people.
No.
So I've had to learn how to resolve it in all these different manners that are like shooting it down cannons. Anger isn't a bad thing. It has a purpose.
That's what I did. Put it in a cannon. Yeah. Etheric cannon. Yep.
And you just find the right targets. If you find the exact right target the anger wants, it actually releases on its own. It feels
like
so
you
good.
were telling me
Oh my God. That feels so much lighter. Woo.
Not the person. It's what
it's usually not the person. It's like the entities around them.
So it's figuring it out too.
Exactly. Like if you're mad at COVID, like the whole thing that happened there, that killed my dad. So I got angry at that, but it built up a lot. And then I found out, it's the dark entities that want to lessen the population on the planet. Let me go after those instead. And then it released. And then same thing with like if somebody pisses you off or triggers you, even if it's truly them that pisses you off, you'd be like, if they're doing something stupid, as an example, sometimes the anger just wants to hit off the entities making them stupid, there's a lot of entities making people stupid, unfortunately. And it doesn't have to hurt them in any way. And it's like a defense against the things that are coming in your life, fucking with people around and you, and that are things that can shift easily in the unseen. And if it's dumped on you, then you gotta cannon it back to the being that it was there for. Either it's there to overwhelm them and divide them from whatever unity of evil they got going on, or it wants to be turned into a punishment. And there's various layers of what anger can be turned into, but it will know, and you can kind of have faith in your higher self. But it's not fun to have that build up. It can cause like liver damage and stress and over. Okay, so what do you know about different types of altars that are programmed for different intentions?
From my own experience, I'll talk on my own altars. I know Danny was one that came out quite a bit. I know there's other ones, but they don't bother me. It's almost like they're like, I don't know, like parts of different like groups of troops, maybe on other planets or something, you know, just there as protection. I don't know. Like, I feel since Raylan has came to me, I feel even more happy. So, I mean, and it's like, I feel the hugs, I feel it, and I allow that, like you said. Sometimes give them the love, sing a song to them. That's who I learned that from. You taught me that. I mean, that's the stuff, and it works. It works. But I believe if it's hurting somebody else in a way of like, for instance, with Christy, it was like she would never go into a room and stay. She'd always make Christy feel so anxious or, you know, emotional. Or so I said, well, you know, I'm not willing to take it. I'm willing to take it on myself, you know, because Danny was connected to Raylan, because Danny was the one that was at Montauk. Raylan.
So for altars, I've heard is suicide program, overwhelm of different type of emotions.
Mine was mainly, Danny was mainly out to assassinate, burn down things, very angry, missing pieces, which is part of Raylan and Danny's connection. There was a love connection there, oddly enough. But it definitely, yeah, I really cared for her when I was there. I would telepathically give her, I taught her telepathically how to communicate with me when I was not at the base, and warn me when Preston would take Raylan out, basically, right? And replace, you know, move her out of there, because that he knew that would piss me off. So I tell her to telepathically tell me this stuff, so I would know before I would get to the base. So I just go about doing my job. Like, I pop through portals, and then I remember Ark, he would go home, he would be ready to leave, you know, or he'd jump through a portal and just bounce. Like,
when you talk about these portals, what way would you describe them in what you see them? So you're talking about physical ones that you can
color, like sometimes water, sometimes different colors, like emulation. Like,
do they have like a shape to the geometry of them?
Circles, yeah.
Ovals?
Okay. Yeah, like swirls.
You have any idea how they're made with those places? Or are they made by people or machines?
I believe some people can open it up with their minds. They can actually open up a portal.
Okay. And for more altar types, I've seen handler programmed altars, ones that suppress, ones that are vampiric towards oneself, and the others, ones that suppress abilities, ones that are built around abilities so that they're controllable, and then make it so that the person can't access them unless that is in effect. Different mindsets, and even ones that are programmed from the soul of another person, or if they took up an archetype, or you know how like they're taking an entire other gender on, or an animal form, or some DNA resonance through them coming out. Older age ones, younger age ones. What have you seen or heard?
All different types. All different types. All different types. Some, I know that there's males that can have female altars. I know I don't remember myself having any female altars, not yet, but you know, anything is possible. So, you know, I always leave that door open because I want to learn and continue to learn as I travel down this journey, because that's the whole thing. It's learning and also teaching, especially to a certain degree of what I've been through and how I made it through. You know, not a lot of people make it through that. They don't. They just totally, they hit the off switch. There's no more. But with alters, I've only really had serious problems with the assassination, the suicide, taunting others, like I did to you, where you interviewed that alter, I believe.
Yeah, that goes into abused, fractured, demon-possessed altars. Are you okay talking about that?
I'm fine. Go right ahead.
Based on my memory, we had a conversation back and forth. Different altars came in at different points in time. I dealt with that type of thing, so I didn't give up on you. You know, I want you to do well. Even if this is so where the other you don't have is this in completely dissociative identity disorder, like separate, or were you able to remember these events?
I remember some of them, and then I don't remember some of them. And then sometimes I'll go to talk about a memory and it'll blank slate. I'll just get hit with a blank slate.
So it was pretty interesting. So I had a conversation with you when you were going through. You were calling it Junior. Is that what you were saying?
I think I was. Yeah, you did say I was connected to Junior somehow.
So one of the big frequency going off in my head while we were talking about.
Yeah,
big higher multi-dimensional apex predator that is portaled in from somewhere, as well as there's a bunch of different ones of these that they do in ritual summoning. And sometimes they'll have them possess the members involved or whatever. There's a lot of stories of different ways this happens, and then opening a portal to somewhere they shouldn't, and then something coming through. There's ways this happens. Sometimes they do it in a ritual to harvest power from the being and trap it in the person, force possession. Sometimes they'll do it to control the person, as well as make an alter personality that's detrimental or turns them to evil. Because with these abilities, they try to get them towards the force of darkness before they try to, if they lose control of the person, try to have them commit suicide. So I've actually witnessed this in quite a number of people. I've had my own. So this is a real thing that happens, and it doesn't necessarily have to have projects or cult rituals involved. It could be just a demon wants to possess a person, and then the person has a little struggle and fight with the demon, and then they compress it into the alter personality in their ego, and then it programs their ego negatively until they resolve it. So either way, I had a conversation with you when you went out into a different altar, and the way it talked was very interesting. It started talking as if killing was good and it didn't understand love. So then I started interviewing it, and it told me it enjoyed, it loved killing. And then I went into, I don't think you're experiencing love, because love is, in my definition, the connection between all things, and killing is like harming yourself, and then it ultimately causes damage. Then I went into with sociopaths and demons and parasite consciousness that doesn't experience love. The biggest frequency they can experience is thrill, and it went into kind of denying that. And so I went into showing it love at a high level, and then getting it to shift. And then we kind of teamed up on resolving it, and then you being able to integrate a bunch of those type of altars, and then support healing them, resolving the entity, sending it back to a quarantine realm where it needs, and then it goes through a healing process because it force entered your game, so it's now agreeing to what you've programmed for it. And then healing and integrating those altars. What can you tell about? And then there might be people out there that experience these type of things, so you're not too far gone. Everything can be healed. We're here with you. Contact either of us if you're going through some things. We can help you. So. And demons are like parasitic consciousness that mostly because they lack the ability to create light or love, and they've been fractured and they've been abused by something higher. So there's a method to how they became evil. And demons are essentially ghosts that have been around for a while, and they can be from any species or sentient life. And some go back to big devils and stuff. But each one of them has a remedy, and it's part of the angelic system of healing and goodness and light to be able to take on bigger and bigger challenges to increase their ability as a healer. So those big challenges you face, those waves, they're challenges you can overcome. And then you become an even greater healer. So what would you say on how you have been able to heal and integrate your altars for those out there that are dealing with altars?
It's I give them commands, like positive commands. Like if it says something negative to me, I'll say, go in the corner, or I'll say, leave me alone, or I'll just give them a word, and they'll know it because of the tone of my voice. I'll say it loud, like, leave me alone. So it lets off a frequency, and they understand, okay, now he means business. So, and I'm more powerful now, and they know that I'm more powerful now, and they know I will shrink them down small and just, totally let them, disappear, get rid of them, or put them in a quarantine healing realm, or, soul trap, or, there's several different ways of doing this, or putting up a shield in front of me. And I learned a new one that I'm doing. It's boxing myself when I go into public, like putting a shield all the way around me, and like nobody messes with me. Nobody says anything. It's like I don't even exist. Also erasing. Like, so if an altar's, trying to talk to me and tell me something negative, well, I'll change that story around to a positive ending. So you can recap it at the end, positive. If it's negative, you can turn it into positive. Erasing stuff from my mind. Certain things like negative programming, like envisioning like certain numbers like 777, or like envisioning these numbers and meditating on them sometimes will actually take away a suicidal thought. Will take away certain things, but also putting up like a violet color with it as well. It's a very vibrant color. So it kind of ricochets. Anything negative will just ricochet off of it, and it can't touch me.
Nice. And for those that have the demon possessed altars, they're a little bit more difficult because then
yeah. So that's a hard one to explain. Because they're hard-headed. They don't get the word no. They don't understand no. It's like zombies, like serious. Like, and I have had like 3 or 4 of them come at me at one time, and I just threw up this huge psionic shield, and all I could see was I heard like a banging. Like they were trying to get in, but they knew they couldn't get in because I had already shielded, but I came very close.
Yeah.
Cursing at me, calling me names, telling me I'm a nobody, Yeah,
they'll try to laugh at you to lower your belief in yourself and then put you into fear. It's hard. They'll try to make it seem like you can't get rid of them. For those out there that are wanting to figure out how to get rid of their demons, you can contact us into helping you support. I am one of the rare individuals on the planet that, in the pain of the ass, it missed the school of learning how to depossess people. That took forever, and it was annoying. I learned how to do it. And it's so awful, but I can teach people too. It's just a pain in the ass. It takes a while. And then rare individuals on the planet that can do it from a distance. So, and Rocko's experienced this himself, where if the demon tries to really come at me, then I'll give it a love surrounding bubble that then compresses out the space and helps it release from him while helping him get his part. Because usually demons like to fill a space of lack, like if there's fracture. And so I'll like bring them the person back to wholeness, and then they'll feel it. And the more dramatic an experience, the more interesting, because they will feel it. I've had multiple people like, oh my God, whoa. And then like big light comes over them. I've had this in the beginning. This happened to me, and then that like drove me down the path to figure this out. And everyone can eventually do this. You just got to earn it, because there is a school in it, and it's overpowered, and the evil forces are not allowed to do this. But they steal authority for possession from a lot of deities and stuff. Because it's originally, every ability is formed by the light, and the evil steals it. So there's like these shamans around that in like Indonesia and stuff that do divine possession where they invite their god and then they do healing as an example. But I don't recommend it because you don't know what you're signing up for and who's coming. Then there's also ways to get rid of entities such as banishing, which is various ways you can look online with people that push that force out of their space with various tech, songs, voice, images, ideograms, and forces, herbs, all kinds of stuff. Then exorcism, purification, trap and capture, and portaling away the being. All kinds of things you can practice. That these facing a demon is like, you know, facing a challenge in a video game, and it's an opportunity. It sucks. It's going to be painful and overwhelming, but it's a great way to test your abilities.
Well, worth it.
Yeah, it's not fun, and I don't recommend people go looking for it. But if you're facing it already, which a lot of people do, they don't really care if you believe in them. They don't even want you to know they exist. They're just going to steal your energy, cause you pain, headaches, and other things. And it goes off to some entity somewhere. So even if they're subtle, or if they're really in your face, you have the ability to practice saying no and putting up your boundaries, and then taking back your sovereignty and being in control of yourself, and then piecing it back together. So what other things have you done for that has worked well for? Because with altar integration,
rocking it like a baby, hugging myself, you know, looking myself in the mirror, and looking that gatekeeper that's inside right through, you know, and checking it, making sure I stay, you know, clear on a regular basis. I mean, incense sometimes. I know tobacco keeps dark, beings away. They are inverted to the scent of tobacco. And also ivermectin is in tobacco. A lot of people didn't know that, but that drug that, with the, stop smoking. Yeah, well, why? It's funny how smokers didn't get it as bad as, people who did.
Try to ban it or something.
Yeah, they did. Yep. Yeah, crazy. But that goes back to natives.
Yeah, especially if it's organic, because a lot of the synthetic, they add shit to it. That's the real big C causer for people. Anyway, so thank you. So yeah, for integrating altars, even for the biggest, hardest ones, procedure would be resolving it so it feels safe, getting rid of attachment, or bringing back wholeness if like there's demons and entities attached to it, making it so that there's no new threats, whatever that involves. Fortressing it so it's strong and protected, providing healing, support, love to it, everything it needs, and then seeing like a distancing factor, like if you've ever heard of the concept, oh, you're so distant, why are you being like that? Because the altar will not like you sometimes, or not feel safe, or feel afraid that it's going to disappear or whatever. So you got to make it feel safe so that it comes out of distancing and comes to oneness and merging, and you can hug it in like that, do that, and get faster at it. And with each one of them, heal. Everything that fucked with them, because some altars are natural and from past lives, bleed overs and archetypes and things in programming, but some are like through trauma and like things messing with you, entering your game negatively, and then stealing your stuff, or demons or whatever. Each one of those things that was used against you, you become immune to. It's like an initiation in a mystery school. Like if death was used at you, then you get stuff in an immunity to that and go through that school. If it was destruction, it was rage, it was sadness, it was overwhelm. You can master that type of energy. If it was something fractured you and stole your stuff, that part, wherever it was probably held by a demon or something. You then gain the ability of every ability it had, and then you become also immune to it, so that they have to send something bigger, and you get a bunch of things from that. So every one of those fractures anyone's been through come back stronger, but you got to heal it, otherwise it's a detriment. And then some have superpowers, so there's that.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Do you know? I was just curious before everything. Have you ever heard of altars with initiation into shapeshifting?
Like as far as what, into like a being, or into like just a regular
wolves, werewolf kind of thing?
I believe one shapeshifted into like a being at one point, but it could have just been like some imagery that they were trying to put in my head. I don't know. I don't know, but that kind of was a little freaky. It was a freaky situation.
Okay. Interesting.
It just manifested, but I felt the altar before the actual manifestation of the being, and I had to warn it off. That was hard.
What do you think the purpose of the Time Soldier projects is, in your perspective?
I honestly am not fully. I have to still do work with ARC on that, because during that point in time was when my altar, Danny, started taking full control of everything, and it split us all up. So therefore, I just remembered a lot of like rape. I remembered, Joseph was pretty strict. He disarmed me at one point, is what I remember. But I was very abusive too, even as a kid in that time soldier program, because we were underneath Powell at the time.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to you in private on like something because I don't like airing things. Yeah, and what would you like in the remedy of this situation and with Montauk? Would you like to see happen?
Well, I'd like to see everybody that's hurting children and continuously doing this and getting away with this. And there's plenty of information out there. There's plenty of testimonies. I'd like to see them all hung at the village square. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see sovereignty, not government. I want sovereignty. I don't want government. I'm tired of being enslaved to this planet. I've been enslaved here long enough, and some. So, no.
You mentioned horse pulling, lid off the third eye kind of concept. Do you heard of any or remember any concepts into what amplifies abilities in remote viewing that you've experienced?
I just seem to focus on the target, and it becomes kind of like a tunnel vision. Sometimes I'll use a picture too of a person, and I'll look them in the eyes. And when I look them in the eyes, I find the target. So when I find the target, it's like I look around, and boom, that's when I start to see things and I start to message things. And sometimes I won't even get there yet, and they already feel my presence. Some of these people, like, that's how weird it is. Like, before I even tell them, okay, I'm headed to you now, I'll let them know. Some people, I'm already there. They're already feeling tingling. They're already feeling lightheaded. They're already feeling my presence. So I had one woman, I think it was, I can't remember what country she was in, but I did a whole spiritual detox on her with my mind. I connected and I sent her energy, and next thing you know, that energy surged and hit the right spot, and she came through the full detox, and she feels way better. So, but I'll get really hot sometimes, or cold, or it depends on the situation.
Yeah, I've been seeing that you're getting better in psionics from everything thrown at you. You've been able to turn into fuel for some ability that you have. Good work. Have you ever heard, what are some of the other abilities you've heard of, seen, or remember interacting with?
Pretty much it right now, other than when I say desist or die. If you meditate on those words long enough, they're very dangerous. They're very, very, very dangerous. It can cause harm to somebody. Giving off brain aneurysms. I've learned that the more angry you get, bad stuff happens. And I mean, it comes in numbers. Like I was mad at a guy so much. I was angry. He ended up having a heart attack by the garbage can the same day. I was so angry. So anger can, infuse that as well. And I was just in shock. I was like, what the hell? And I knew it had something to do with me because I knew the anger, but it was like, I wasn't really fuming. I was fuming inside, but it wasn't like I was going around throwing things, smashing things, yelling, screaming, cursing. I calmed down after a while, but it happened because I already released that energy into the air. So
I experienced that too. What you mentioned grays and reptoids. What have you experienced other types of races?
Not that I'm consciously aware of. I'm sure I have. But I don't know. I hear all these positive, experiences with beings. I don't recall too many positive myself. It could be there. But this is like lifetimes and lifetimes of journey, really.
Okay. So for those out there that want to contact you, what way can they contact you?
Right at my Facebook, Rocko Fowler.
And are you, so you said you're writing a book. Can you mention that again?
Currently working on it. Yes, I am. About some of the experiences, taking some of the notes. Christy gave me permission to use some of it because it's kind of an outline to that part of the story or that timeline or whatever. Time could have been frozen. I could have been sent back there. I don't know. And I believe that was during the time soldier programming as well. I believe there was a bubble.
Okay. And any other future projects you have in the woodworks on?
Well, I'm not sure on it yet, but I believe that I'm going to be speaking at the second stage when Brian Sang has hopefully the conference next year. So that's why I'm working on, getting a PowerPoint together, make something correct.
So that'll be Full Disclosure Now and Full Disclosure Movement.org for those looking forward to it in 2025. Yeah, look forward to that. It'll probably be in the same place around Tampa, Florida. I don't know. We'll see. As in the deep future. I'll probably be presenting as well.
It goes so fast. Time just goes whoop. And I don't even like using the word time. I don't. It's annoying. It's like, because it don't exist. It don't.
And any other social medias you're on, and what YouTube or what? So you can
Montauk Recalls 2020/2024 Full Disclosure Movement is the name of my channel.
Nice. And yeah, cool, wonderful here. Do you know what? Any idea? Little hints of what your presentation will be about?
Well, I think I'm going to make it about how speaking on the whole Ray Lynn situation and how the altar and programming the altars, and go into that a little bit deeper, because I'll have time to meditate. I'll have time to get everything ready, so I'm not like feeling because I did a lot of, and during that time besides those 2 kids, I put a lot of damage on a lot of people that are contacting me now. That Christy literally wrote a list, and some of those people on that list have already contacted me and said, I remember you. I remember you. And I'm like, what? You're like 50 years old. How do you remember me? Or you're 40 something years old. How do you remember me? And that's when I'm like, okay, well, time can, can freeze it. So there's little bubbles.
Yeah. And for those that get confused, why do they use time travel? Why do they use other timelines? At least from what I've been able to see, at least just explain something, is sometimes they have a teacher or programmer or type of method to initiating what they want in a goal, whether it be an ability or whatever, to train a soldier, whatever job, skill set. Usually it's something unique if it's going to take to where they need to go back in time to this event when this teacher's teaching, only when they're only teaching, or another timeline where it exists, or certain factors exist or something to make it more beneficial and easy to generate the result. Anyway, so I'm Sean Bond of Psionic League, psionicleague.com, Psionic League YouTube. You can reach me for consultations, healing, clearing, depossession, remedy of altar healings, do mystery schools on abilities in my membership site. We'll be doing sacred trips in the future to places of power, pyramids, temples, things like that, that awaken superhuman abilities in exchange for giving them what they need in love, support, healing, fortressing, and a bunch of bringing them out in strengthening of light as like chakras and meridians of the planet. So if you're interested in that, inquiry trip to my email, and also write what places you're interested in. We'll be going all around different places like Japan, India, Britain, Ireland, Hawaii, a lot in Mexico, because I'm in Mexico currently. And yeah, find ways to activate your ability to empower yourself and become the greatest surfer and ride those waves. Whatever challenge that you face, you can do it. You believe in yourself. Have a dream. Never give up on it. Any last words you'd like to leave the audience?
Hope everyone is doing well out there, and just stay strong. Stay strong. We will win. We will win. We got this.
Wonderful. Thank you. And smash that like, subscribe to both our channels. I'll leave a comment if you want to see more of Rocko, and let us know and show him some love. And share this video to whoever you think would benefit from it. And if you want to do a positive, supportive trigger for people that might have something in them that is similar to what we're talking about. Yeah, so thank you all for coming, honored. And thank you for being brave enough to listen through these kind of triggery subjects. Thank you again.